Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arvid Lukauskas, and I welcome you here to a talk entitled North Korea Since the 1990s and U.S. North Korean Relations, Problem and Prospects. So obviously in an election year where security has been a big part of the campaign, this is a really good time to be having this discussion. North Korea, of course, has been a focus of U.S. foreign policy for a very long time. So I can think of no one better to talk to us about this topic than today's speaker, Haksoon Paik. Haksoon is a world-renowned expert on North Korea and Korean relations. He's currently the president of the Academy of Kim Dae-jung Studies, and he's also a member of the boards of 3 related institutions. He was formerly the president of the Dae-jung Institute, which is a leading think tank in South Korea. He's been an advisor to various government agencies and ministries related especially to the topic of unification, but also topics more generally related to foreign policy. He was the vice president of the Korean Political Science Association, and he has written extensively, and I mean extensively. He's the author of, or co-author of 23 books, mostly on Korea, but not just on Korea. And that includes the seminal work, The History of Power in North Korea, which is a really, truly amazing book. And we're very lucky to have him here in the United States because he just received a major award. It's the Global Korea Award from the Council on Korean Studies at Michigan State University, and he just received that on Saturday. So congratulations, Haksoon, for getting that very prestigious award. So Haksoon's going to speak for about 45 minutes or so. If you could hold your questions until he finishes, that would be perfect. For those of you online, I also welcome you to the seminar. I'll be monitoring chat, so if you have a question, feel free to enter it, and I will relay that to Haksoon. So Haksoon, thanks again for being here with us, and I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I have to go to the podium over there. That's what you mean. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you, kinds of questions we have been always asking, and also questions you have answers to them, in your own way, North Korea and also U.S. North Korea relations. Do you hear me back? So no problem. Okay. Before I begin my talk, this was my first visit to Colombia, and just coming into the what do you call that, Center Garden of Columbia University, or Quad. I felt like I was in Foro Romana, Roman Forum, surrounded by majestic buildings, the original library and the current library. And that's, made me sense the grandeur and grandiosity of Columbia University. So this is a very special feeling. Okay, without further ado, let me go to my presentation. North Korea since the 1990s and North Korea-US relations, problems and prospects. Again, North Korean problem, North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile problems have been there for long. So You might have all kinds of questions and answers to those questions in your own way again, as I told you. What is North Korea like today? Collapsing or surviving? Why does North Korea matter to the United States and the world? Will North Korea denuclearize itself without receiving a quid pro quo, an end of war declaration as peace regime, normalization of relationship with the United States, and economic cooperation from the United States? Are the denuclearization of North Korea and dismantling of North Korea's ICBM capabilities a top priority for the US? Will the United States opt for peaceful coexistence with North Korea by providing the aforementioned quid pro quo? What are the potential consequences of instability on North Korea and in North Korea and on the Korean Peninsula, and how do they impact international politics? The Korean Peninsula occupies a critical geostrategic fault line, making it susceptible to clashes between major powers, which can escalate tensions and lead to conflict or war. And then the question is, what are we supposed to do? I mean, not only Koreans, but also Americans and the people around the world. And what can we do to promote and settle peace on the Korean Peninsula? These are the questions I thought you might have been interested in. I don't know exactly that's true or not, but let's proceed from here. Key questions, we thought about that. And look at this map, the black spotted North Korea. What kind of sense do you have here? North Korea is not far from the United States. Okay. Alaska, particularly in Alaska, oh my gosh, it's quite near. And geography tells quite, much important stories to us. North of North Korea, there is a Chinese northeastern provinces. There is a very strong ballistic missile units in Chinese territory, just north of North Korea. Why? Because out of all places in China, that place, northeastern provinces of China, is closest to Alaska and Washington, D.C. So in the eyes of Chinese people and Chinese policymakers, that's a good place to install and set up a very powerful ballistic missile units, potentially against the United States if things happens. This might be, I don't know whether you have seen these photos, but this upper left one is a hydrogen bomb model. In the first chamber, nuclear fission takes place. In the second, nuclear fusion takes place, to make it simple. And this is a nuclear fission bomb. And this hydrogen bomb can be topped in a missile this way. So it is miniaturized already, and this is a real model, so-called. And this lower right side, this photo is what North Korea revealed recently, uranium enrichment facilities. North Koreans still continue to strengthen their nuclear and ballistic missile capabilities. And the left photo shows the attitude of ICBMs and all kinds of ballistic missiles. North Korea may want to test fire at normal angle across the Pacific and into a southern Pacific, South Pacific. But if they do that, what do we feel? Here in Washington, D.C., you might regard it as an actual attack on U.S. mainland. So they try to avoid test pilot at normal angle. They so-called use the high angle this way. But scientists, technicians easily translated into the range, which you see in the right photo, which covers the whole U.S. continent. This is North Korean threat. And then what can we do about it? Just live as it is, as we are living as it is, or do we have to remove the potential nuclear-tipped, hydrogen bomb-tipped ICBM capabilities onto the U.S. mainland? That's a serious question for all of us. Now, what North Korea is like today, politics, economics, we have all other areas, but just let me select 2 areas only and try to be very brief if possible. Key turning points in North Korean politics: establishment, monolithic political leadership, and unitary ideology in 1960s, 1967. If you have any knowledge about North Korean history, this is just what happened. Succession of power within a family 2 times, development of nuclear weapons and advancing ballistic missiles from 1993. You might have seen a television news report or photos in which very young daughter of Kim Jong-un, 11-year-old actually, is accompanying his father in very important ceremonial, arrangements, visiting, military, ceremonies as well. And then a lot of questions are asked. Is she the successor? And we don't know exactly how many children Kim Jong-un has, but it was previously reported that he has 2 sons already, older than his 11-year-old daughter. So, and then we kind of people who do analysis of North Korea every day has an easy answer to that. If you have a successor, you're not supposed to present it to the public, expose him to public early enough. If you do that, and then he's an easy meat for all kinds of criticisms from overseas. So you're not supposed to do that. They publicize the existence of the successor at the very moment when they decide him or her as the successor of the supreme leader. So this 11-year-old daughter, just appearing at every ceremony might be a pre-education for the situation where the real successor just appears as the successor of North Korea. So we don't know exactly. Even South Korean intelligence does not provide us any definitive answers to this. Now, politics. How has North Korea sustained its leadership and system in the face of a changing international environment? We all know Soviet Union collapsed, and we have seen collapses of the Central Eastern European socialist regimes, all of them gone. China, Vietnam are different. They are combining not only socialism but also other ideologies as Asian country. And so, but again, North Korea is in East Asia, but how do they sustain this leadership? And 3 generational power succession supported by anti-Japanese guerrilla warfare fighters and their descendants. Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea, was one of the leaders of anti-Japanese warfare, guerrilla warfare fighters. And he had his subordinates, comrades so-called, together. Once they came to power in North Korea after liberation, his comrades, subordinates, guaranteed the power succession at the top in the Kim family, 3 generational power succession. And by doing that, they are guaranteed their own power succession within their family as the elite of North Korean politics and society. Does it make sense? This is a very powerful, mechanism. And ruling ideology that combines socialism, nationalism, Confucianism, traditionalism, feudalism, and tyranny, as I alluded to in the case of Vietnam and China. Geography and geopolitics and geostrategy matter. And also a balancing act of by geography, geopolitics, I mean, Korean Peninsula is located, surrounded by four powers, so-called, or the powers of those four big powers are offset, with each other in a sense, on the Korean Peninsula, if all of them try to exercise their influence. In that geography, in that geopolitical situation, so the best scenario is not to depend on just one country, or at least you are supposed to balance at least two big powers, so that you could have autonomy in external relations, and also you can receive so-called competitive favors from all of them. That's exactly what happened. And North Korea conducted a balancing strategy between they both balanced the Soviet Union and China, played both socialist brothers off against each other. That's what happened during the Cold War era. Now, Soviet Union is gone. What they're trying to do from early 1990s, immediately after the Soviet Union collapses, they tried to bring the United States in as a counterforce, counterweight to China. Does it make sense? North Koreans are, very much, used to big power diplomacy. And so they have all those memories, and they wanted to bring the United States in and try to balance China and North Korea. I'm sorry, the United States together, off against each other. But of course, they do not say that way. And but we can easily read their intention when we analyze their foreign policy and strategy. I already have come to strategy here, North Korea's strategy of survival and development for 21st century. And there were 6 rounds of negotiation with the United States. What's the use of establishing a strategy of survival and development if it is not implemented? You have to implement it so that you can survive and develop. So North Korea made as many 6 rounds of negotiations from 1990s, early 1990s. Oh my gosh, one page is gone. The last round, maybe it might be included later, slider, but the 6th round, the last round was exactly what happened between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump in 2018 in Singapore and 2019 in Hanoi. Economy, just to compare South Korean economy and North Korean economy, there is a big gap. Oh, this is night view, quite famous. Maybe most of you have seen this photo at least once, because it was so much advertised to tell the big contrast between the two Koreas in terms of economy and the capacity of the 2 Koreas. Oh, these graphs. The left one shows that there is a minus growth rate in economy when there is this was the the year when North Korea was suffered, unprecedented natural disasters, flood damage. And this was what happened during the most severe, harshest ever sanctions to the North Korean economy, North Korea, by the United Nations Security Council. And this is, of course, COVID lockdown. And this is COVID lockdown, and now this is last year, and the economic growth rate goes up, getting out of the minus growth rate. I don't want to point out that South Korea's growth rate is falling down here. Of course, this graph does not shows a real big difference. South Korean economy is number at 11th, 12th and 13th in the world. So, but as long as growth rate shows that North Korean economy has gotten out of minus growth rate at least. That's what it shows. You might be interested in the photos from now. I and with my fellow North Korea researchers, so-called, have a so-called field trip to the border areas, North Korea-China border areas, from the very from here to all the way to here, every 2 years. And so I will show you some differences, some changes you could find in the photos taken at the same size in North Korea. This one, 2001, at that time, really disastrous famine. And this mountain is quite a steep mountain, but look at the cultivated small patches of land, going up all the way top of the mountain. This is unbelievable. We were very saddened at this. Oh my gosh, North Korean brothers, sisters are starving to death. And this was other place. This is Yanggangdo around here. And taken 2012 and now this year. I have not joined the field trip this year, but one of the participants was my very close colleague using the door. We have this, what is it? The office just side by side. The former Unification Minister Dae-jung, maybe some of you know his name, and he provided me these photos because I told him that I'm going to the United States and have a lecture tour. So just to provide me most recent photos so that I can share it with you. This is Yanggangdo, again, maybe around here. Yeah. You see the new houses in the rural areas. Okay, and this is Jungsangli Junganggo. This is here. And this was taken 2012, and this last year. I was not there, but the photo shows that there's some development. But this year, August this year, it's all gone because of flood damage. And flood damage around these areas, And this is the photo of the estuary of Yalu River. And the railroad was crossed. And Kim Jong-un, look at this photo. Kim Jong-un conducts so-called on-site guidance, but it is not just like the previous one, which you used to find in his father and grandfather's days. The supreme leader is not supposed to ride this small, rubber boat. His subordinates, the people who are in charge of his security, does not allow him to ride on this, smaller boat. But he conducts, he's behaving just like a political leader of any countries we know, outside North Korea. And he's a young man, very pragmatic in his orientation, and he attended middle school and high school in Switzerland as a teenager years. And so I try to say that Kim Jong-un has dual identities. One formed by being a grandson of the Supreme Leader and son of the Supreme Leader, now the Supreme Leader himself. And the other is what was formed in the Western world. So he's not just like, previous leaders just locked up in North Korea, not traveling much, traveling overseas much. But Kim Jong-un is a young man and a very pragmatic kind of politician. This is the photo of Sinuju, the biggest city on the side of North Korea. And this is, look at the photos. And this is one. This is very interesting contrast. In this year, just before the lockdown because of COVID, and this is just after opening the border, and then during, in other words, oh my gosh, during the COVID lockdown years, there was such new buildings built up over there. This is, I was really very curious and shocked in a sense. We all, what we hear in the Western media and in Seoul, in Washington D.C. is that North Korea is struggling to survive, and lockdown, COVID lockdown was a decisive blow to North Korea's economy and all of that. But this is what happened. And this is Sinuju this year. This is night view. On the Chinese side, we have tall hotels. If you go up to the top floor of the hotels, you can see this this Sinuju area of North Korean side. You can see night view. Photo was taken over there. And North Korean economy, it's a socialist economy, so planning was important, but they just combined the market as two pillars. But more importantly, almost 80%, over 80% economic activities are being done, is done around the market. Planning is just being reduced and reduced. But it still remains because it's a socialist country, and the state had to do planning. This year, substantial weapon sales to Russia. Why? The relations between Russia and North Korea has dramatically improved, and rapidly growing trade and economic cooperation with that. Recently, in June this year, Russia and North Korea signed a mutual defense treaty, comprehensive strategic partnership treaty. Because it is comprehensive, mutual defense pact is included, but also all trade, economic, science, technology, and energy, environment, all kinds of cooperations were included in the treaty. Let's see, dramatic expansion of markets and the development of a private money transfer system. Besides official banking system, this is flourishing. Money talks. The problem is widening socio-economic gap between emerging wealthy and others. Look at these photos. If I had shown these photos, not in this class, in this talk, North Korea, but had shown you in other topics, you might have understood it. Maybe exist, all those buildings in other countries. So this is North Korea today in Pyongyang, new towns, and so they call it Pyongyang. What do you mean, Pyongyang? Do you understand? Pyongyang and Manhattan. We are in Manhattan now, so Pyongyang, Manhattan, they put it together, and Pyongyang. North Koreans are talking, using that words in Pyongyang these days. Very interesting. And then you ask, now how could North Korea carry out such a large-scale construction work? Basically, military forces are used for constructions. Two responsibilities of the military: defense and construction. Why? The logic goes this way, and that reflects the reality as well. You remember the year 2017. That year, North Korea, succeeded in hydrogen bomb test, and also they succeeded in ICBM tests. So North Korea, in January the next year, 2018, Kim Jong-un declared so-called national nuclear forces are complete now. And then they changed their emphasis from security and military areas to economy, because they think, and they declare that way, they think they have nuclear deterrent now. They, Kim Jong-un explained, United States is not, it's not supposed to make a war against us because we have nuclear weapons already, and also ICBMs. So they put quite important, a portion of the energy to economic construction. That's what happened. And the military, not only military, but also labor forces were used. But all those big towns and other constructions, the military played a key role. They were ordered to construct them. This is a book, front page book cover of a book published in Seoul, 2021. Translated into English, Transformation of Pyongyang from a city of equality to a city of desire. You sense, the meaning of this, the points he's trying to make in his book. Now, money talks and the city of desire. There is a growing gap between haves and have-nots. Very serious problem. There are many, money owners, so-called 돈주 in Korea, and they invest their money, the resources in making such, big new towns. Maybe you might not have expected this, when you think of North Korea. And this is what happened. Another interesting thing that's happening in North Korea is large-scale greenhouse farms are built. Typically, there are many, but this is 3 of them on this map. And all those, greenhouses are exactly, formerly airfields. And okay, this greenhouse, which is this one, is so-called, according to North Korea's propaganda, the largest greenhouse farms in Asia. It's more than 1,000 units. This is quite large. And this is a smart farm. Just look at the photo below, smart farm. And this is another greenhouse farm, formerly airfield, and this is the photo. They are producing fruits. And this is so-called, from this year, they are concentrating on this project. 20 times 10 local development policy. 20 means, they select 20 counties each year, and they continue to select other 20s every year for 10-year period. And then 20 times 10 means 200. That's the number of North Korea, the number of North Korea cities, city districts, and the counties. So basically, they want to, close the gap between Pyongyang and rural areas. And the reason I show this photo in particular is that if I translate, this slogan into English, it reads like this: People's Army. Let's be the standard bearer and the protagonist in the fight for local industrial development. An exclamation mark. So, former airfields were transformed into greenhouse, complexes, right? And, soldiers are deployed to construct local economies. And then you have questions, because you heard us, and also recently they concluded a mutual defense treaty with Soviet Union and Russia. And Western reports, Western news media outlets repeatedly emphasized the importance with the danger of North Korea's so-called threat has become more and more because out of this. But you might have a question here. They are preparing a conflict or a war when they do all these deployments of military forces to construction work, new big towns in Pyongyang, and the greenhouses, and also local development projects. And one more. What do you think about the mutual defense pact with Soviet Union? I'm sorry, and then Russia. In South Korea, almost all people, feel threatened because of the treaty with Russia. But you could interpret otherwise. Russia is in war, Ukraine, and Russia is supposed to have another war on the Korean Peninsula? No way. Having two front war is a nightmare for any military strategies in the United States, in Russia as well. And then, considering the differences in power, asymmetry in power between allies, Russia's control power over North Korea must be bigger than the control power of North Korea over Russia. It's just like, which happens between, South Korea and the United States. South Korea, for instance, when North Korea provoked, very nastily, and then there is, public opinion, okay, let's retaliate, let's fight. And then in most cases, United States government, intervenes. No. That's the role of United States, military in a sense, even though they do all kinds of problems, causes a lot of problems as well. At least Americans know that there should not be a war on the Korean Peninsula. Not only for the interest of Koreans, but also for the interest of the United States. So you might have answer to the question, North Korea is really threatening us more and more by developing all these nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles, and signing a treaty with Russia and all of that. But you have other evidences in the other in the opposite directions. I personally think that there will not be a war or something like that on the Korean Peninsula. Relieved? Kim Jong-un says, definitely he's all-heartedly, straightforwardly concentrated on an economy. He does not say that way. Whenever he has a public statement, whenever he visits military installations and the military academy, he has to emphasize the importance of military role and the need to strengthen nuclear ballistic missile capabilities, talking nice things about South Korea and about the United States. But and just one here, 1 to 4 brigades. Kim Jong-un gave an order to the military to go to the rural areas to construct rural industrial companies on January 24th this year. So 124 brigades. It is, the military forces deployed there are called 124 brigades. Now, time is running out. Let me try to brief, but I'm afraid the most important parts are left now. That's a problem. Look at this map. We have 2 power blocks. And then just like, in geology, we have so-called plates. And if plates collide, and then we have earthquake and volcanoes. These power blocks, international relations, collides, and then we have, conflicts and wars. These are fault lines. Ukraine is here, Middle East is here, all this, area. Korean Peninsula is here, Taiwan Strait is here, South China is here. And then the people living in those fault lines, what are they supposed to do? Do they have to raise the tension in their relationship with the so-called enemy countries, in the case of South Korea, against North Korea, intentionally, or without any thought, unconsciously? And how about the United States? Do you have to increase tension in this fault line? No, no way. If there is a instability and a conflict of war, and then you are allies of South Korea, you have to automatically get involved. So this is a question for all of us. U.S. policy toward North Korea is essentially big power diplomacy. U.S. policy toward the Korean Peninsula defined and executed largely in the context of U.S. policy toward China and Russia. Trilateral cooperation between the United States, Japan, and South Korea is a key component of U.S. policy toward them, as we all know. North Korea's nuclear and missile threats is used as a pretext to strengthen the trilateral cooperation to the level of an alliance these days against China, Russia, and North Korea. And the 3 countries agreed to hold annual named multi-domain trilateral exercises on a regular basis, practically become military allies. United States, South Korea allies. United States, Japan are allies, but Korea and Japan are not allies. What the American government has been doing was to persuade both Japan and South Korea to please cooperate as much as possible to the level of alliance. But because of the history, the past history of colonialism, it is not easy. And then, this is serious, conspiracy theory has prevailed. The U.S. use of North Korean threats to strengthen its counterweight against China by mobilizing U.S., Japan, South Korea cooperation, rather than making proactive efforts to resolve them, has perpetuated the conspiracy theory that the U.S. does not genuinely want to resolve the Korean Peninsula problems, particularly the North Korean nuclear problem. You may or may not agree with this, but among the experts, among the people who are just fed up, so much frustrated with U.S. policy in dealing with North Korean nuclear ballistic missile issues, among them, this, conspiracy theory still continues. Peaceful let me skip that. North Korea's strategy of survival development bring the United States into North Korea's strategic design as a counterweight to China in the absence of union, as I explained. North Korea is balancing strategy toward China and the United States. And the purpose of North Korea's strategic goal is peaceful coexistence with the US and economic development. So the ABCD type of 4 goals, concrete goals, to end the Korean War with the US. This is a question, what war is the longest war in current history? Maybe in the post, World War II era. What is the longest one? Sometimes I see commentators, appear on the show and say, this is the longest one, that is the longest one. Oh my gosh, Korean War is the longest one, over 70 years. It is still continuing in the form of armistice. So end the Korean War, establish peace regime, normalize relations with the United States, promote economic cooperation in order to peacefully coexist with the United States. Otherwise, they cannot have a long vision of survival, and they think they can survive, and we have to admit that, but so-called prosperity and so glorious year of Kim Jong-un's era, so-called. And so they are politicians as well. They have to feed their own people. They have to entertain the demands of the people coming up from below. For instance, Kim Jong-un confessed that the existing, not existing, he confessed in his speech the dramatically grown gap between Pyongyang and rural areas. So I'm sorry, my rural, compatriots. And he apologized that way, officially. No, that is not supposed. He was not supposed to do that if he were, politicians in previous times. And we see a real intent of doing something for the people in his own way. Now, it is a give and take deal. What is to take? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 already. What to give in return? North Korea promised to cease developing nuclear weapons and informally tolerate the continued station of US force in South Korea. Oh, this is what they promised in early 1990s when Soviet Union demised. They established strategy for survival and development, and this was offered to the United States the very next month after Soviet demise in December 1991. In other words, in January 1992, Kim Jong-il's right-hand man was sent to New York here and met with, maybe you remember Arnold Cantor, who was the ranking number 3 man in the State Department. They had a secret meeting, and there was not a breakthrough at all. North Korea offered these two things, which is a big thing, but why failed? Why United States did not accept that offer and give something in return? Why not? Because they thought that, oh my gosh, this small country is a country destined to collapse, just like what happened in East Germany and Poland and all those countries. And then they asked us, demand us, request us, a negotiation. Oh my gosh, that cannot be accepted. So they ignored them, just just attaching in their negotiation, in their dialogue, as many as almost 30 conditions, which means that United States was flatly ignored all those offers from North Korea. In hindsight, oh my gosh, we should have taken. And then there was no nuclear and ballistic missile issues. And 6 rounds again, I told you, and Kim Jong-un was the last round. And this is the photo of taken at Singapore, the first ever U.S. North Korea summit in Singapore in June 2018. Both were happy and agreement. And Pyongyang people, the report in the Rodong Shimun, and epoch making. North Korea promised, okay, we will denuclearize ourselves. We recover and repatriate POW and MIA remains. And in return, United States promised normalization of the relations, peace regime on the Korean Peninsula, security guarantees. So it was just a give and take, satisfactory to each other. But remember, what happened in latter part of 2017, again, hydrogen bomb and ICBM capabilities tested in the north, in success, and there was huge, turmoil in the White House in Washington D.C. how to deal with it, and National Security Advisor McMaster and their team were very hawkish at the time. Let us use military means just to destroy all important targets, including Kim Jong-un, simultaneously by bringing in 3 aircraft carriers, for instance, to the Sea of Korea and Japan. But they knew eventually through the discussion that it is not an option at all, because North Korea will target the naval base and the Air Force bases in Guam with nuclear weapons. And then there is no defense, because at that time, you could not have this level of missile defense as we see these days. And so in Singapore, basically Donald Trump as the commander-in-chief had to deal with that potential threat to the U.S. mainland, and Michael Pence and others were opposed to the Singapore summit itself, because North Korea is not trustworthy. It's not that the serious threat out of the explanations. But then Trump decided to come to Singapore and made a comprehensive give and deal. So it was a reconfirmation of comprehensive dual-track phased approach. Let me briefly explain this. We have denuclearization. We have denuclearization is the most important demand on the part of the United States, and North Korea in return want to receive peace regime normalization relationship and economic cooperation as well. And we have 2 tracks, dual track, and the dual track is supposed to the end. At the end, all the issues on the dual track is supposed to resolve at the end. And step by step, at first step, easier things first. And if easier things are done, and then there is a trust growing up, and then we can move on to next stage and next step, that way, third, fourth, and finally, North Korea denuclearizes itself, and we provide, end of war, peace regime, and normalization of relations. So win-win, kind of result. They confirmed, both of them, because this formula has been there, the only agreed formula between the United States and North Korea in any agreement for the past 30 years to 20 decades until that time. Otherwise, there is no deal, no agreement at all. Remember, we want to denuclearize North Korea, but if North Korea does not forced to, not forced to, or even we can think of such in case, forced to, or agree to, or voluntarily, agree, whatever, in whatever, cases. If North Korea does not denuclearize itself, we cannot have denuclearization of North Korea and the Korean Peninsula. That's the reality we experienced. So, this dual track approach was the only agreement formula we had until now. But after Hanoi, immediately after that, the establishments in Washington, D.C. and the United States, including military-industrial complex, tried to reverse the agreements made in Singapore, and they finally succeeded in it in Hanoi. So Hanoi was a failure in terms of finding a new agreement to implement Singapore agreement, which was word for word agreement. So that's what happened, as we know. And this is in Hanoi. John Bolton is happy because he just wanted to be just stop over there, not Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. Trump is leaving. Debacle. 3 options discussed in advance: big deal, small deal, and walk away. Small deal is exactly what I explained already. Dual track, phased step-by-step solution. And big deal, what is the big deal? Big deal is a deal in which you, both sides, put all important demands all together on the same table and resolve it, give and take deal at once. And Americans know that North Korea will not accept big deal. Why? Any negotiation that have been done until now between the United States and North Korea regarding nuclear and ballistic missile talks was just targeted at denuclearizing North Korea only, not the United States. Maybe you have not paid much attention to that, but you might be surprised to this fact. Asymmetry in negotiation goals and agendas, negotiation goals. And then if you were in North Korea's shoes, what is your psychology? Defensive psychology. Okay, we tried not to be caught in the trap set up by the United States by not making mistakes. So they are very defensive. And walkway option, because and small deal, this White House agreed in advance that we cannot accept a small deal. This is exactly what both countries had agreed on for the past decades, and this is what Kim Jong-un wants, and which was made in Singapore as well, satisfactory to Kim Jong-un. But we are not supposed to make even the sliced, smallest concessions at the most easier in the first step. Does it make sense? They thought it that way. So, and then only left, option left was a walk away. Oh, in the Reykjavik summit between Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan in 1980, Ronald Reagan walked away, and it was a success. Looking back at the outcome eventually, what happened after that. Gorbachev, made concessions. John Bolton, persuaded Donald Trump that way. Donald Trump, of course, he definitely was concerned about the nuclear and ballistic missile threats from North Korea, but he was not a kind of leader who had a peace, vision for peace on the Korean Peninsula. And so he was rather persuaded by what is good, and what is good for election campaigns and media show, for instance, theatric moves for media. And that's exactly what they discussed in Hanoi among themselves. And they did not have any prior meetings between them in Hanoi. And And even on the very morning of the summit day, they did not have any breakfast meeting. And they reviewed the three options in the limousine on the way to the summit site. And okay, walk away. And Donald Trump asked, oh my gosh, okay, walk away is okay, but how can I explain the outcome, which is failure in finding a solution to the potential North Korea nuclear-tipped ICBM attack on US mainland? So how can I explain to the American people? And Mike Pompeo said this, the summit, it's easy, don't worry. The summit was a huge success because US has made no concessions to North Korea. And what they did, John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and all the others, upon, back in Washington, D.C., appearing in all news shows, ABC, NBC, all those things, and they repeated, the same message. And then Democrats are happy about it as well. Oh my gosh. Democrats, were supportive of this decision at the time. North Korea is not trustworthy. No. North Korea's dictatorship. Quite a simple understanding. Negative memories in Hanoi was followed by a period of profound disillusionment. We are living in a period of disillusionment among the parties involved in North Korean affairs. After Hanoi, North Korea abandoned its 3-decade-long policy of seeking peaceful coexistence with the United States. I would say at least for the time being, because geography does not change much. China is there, Russia is there. Eventually, North Korea has to bring the United States back in. Now they are playing both Russia and China off against each other. But that is not enough. This is not Cold War era. And they signed a comprehensive strategic partnership, treaty with Russia as it planned. And Russia has procured over 16,500 containers of munitions just for 1 year period. And they are used in Ukraine. North Korean missiles are used, North Korean munitions, artillery shells are used. I've mentioned this distinctive characteristic of U.S. North Korea negotiations, asymmetric character, asymmetric. It doesn't matter to us, the United States. We don't have to care about that, care about that. But for North Korea, it's a life and death issue. If they are caught in trap set up by the United States, ill-intended United States government, for instance. And so we refer to it North Korean nuclear ballistic missile problems that needs solving, but Americans see it as a survive and develop issue that must be achieved. And then we can ask, will North Korea denuclearize without receiving a quid pro quo from the US? What do you think? Are the denuclearization of North Korea, blah, 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 is top priority of the United States? With North Korea, will the United States opt for peaceful coexistence with US, with North Korea? I have to emphasize that as an analyst, as an academic who have been dealt with this issue from the very beginning in 1990s, early 1990s, I have to say that both questions, the demands from both sides are interconnected intrinsically in a give and take deal, serving as a quid pro quo in reality. So the demands of both sides are essentially two faces of the same coin. So the question, will North Korea really give up its nuclear weapons, ICBMs, is essentially the same question in reality as will US really end the Korean War, A, B, C, D? What do you think? Can we give up denuclearization of North Korea? These days, a lot of people, more than majority of people, South Korea and the United States all over, if there is public poll conducted, they think North Korea is not likely to denuclearize. That's true. And then, in Korea, quite important people, politicians and opinion leaders argue that we South Korea should go nuclear. And then I would say the argument to abandon denuclearization of North Korea is unacceptable, because it implies giving up our hopes for ending the Korean War, establishing peace regime, and preventing North Korea's nuclear-tipped ICBM threat to the U.S. mainland. How can we give up denuclearization? North Korea, if North Korea is left, as it is, and we are giving North Korea a free hand, and it will continue to strengthen all those capabilities. They do not have trust in China and Russia. North Koreans has never ever had trust in both big powers. They're just playing both off against each other for their own interests. And the United States involved in the global wars. Ukraine, in Middle East, multiple wars simultaneously? No, impossible, nightmare. Then US is capable of waging another war in the Korean Peninsula. And then the question becomes, particularly South Korea, Korean Peninsula is located at the geostrategic fault line, as I explained. What are we supposed to do? We have two Koreas here, an increased threat of nuclear war in Korea. Very deplorable, very disappointing. Let me skip here. Just in general terms, whenever we have problems, the status quo and the regional forces within a country and across the among the country, and there are all these complex struggles. So we see all the time-consuming complex processes of negotiation and all of that. And again, this map again. So the lesson is that we have to reduce tension, avoiding war and fostering peace. Particularly, we are occupying the strategic fault line. And what else we can do? More philosophically or more methodologically, I'm forgetting English words every day living in Korea, but I'm still communicable. I'm thankful. By bringing the future to present, we can transform the present into reality that embodies our vision of nuclear-free, peaceful Korea for the future. Make the present breathe in the future, confident in our ability to achieve our future vision and goals. It can apply to our individual lives, to anything. We bring the future visions, and even though the present is full of difficulties and frustrations, we can restructure, reconstitute the present so that it can breathe the future dreams. And so we have confidence in materializing that, realizing that. That's the way, there's no other choice for our lives. The same applies to nations. Dae-jung, President Dae-jung, I am the so-called, the founding president of the Academy of Dae-jung Studies. We have IPSA, International Political Science Association. Of course, Dae-jung was the 15th, South Korean president, and the Nobel Peace Prize in 2000. But he's known for that. But this year, IPSA, International Political Science Association, which is an umbrella organization of, political science associations of individual countries, over 100 around the world. They established Dae-jung Award. A very, it was very sort of, surprise to me because, those are academics and professors, they decided to do that. They understood this, revealed as a democratic philosopher statesman. He's not simply, political leader, philosopher statesman. And the author of 30-volume Kim Dae-jung works. He translated his democratic ideas, democracy, human rights, and peace, even the peaceful coexistence with the nature and humanity. He argued for that, as early as 1960s. And so he translated all those ideas into concrete policies during his presidency, so that Korea and the world could benefit from them. And he said this, the last one, this is what he said to me, before he died. Dr. Baek, believe in history with confidence in its forward trajectory, and it is right to have a long-term perspective. The present is full of problems and frustration. Don't be discouraged, Dr. Baek. He says, that meaning, and you rather have a long-term vision, just like you find through a telescope. Even though you have to deal with the realities in order to have skillful, very proper solutions so that the people, suffering people, could benefit from it, you have to have a microscopic, understanding analysis of the variables and the resources you can apply. But you have to see the future goal, and through telescope, don't forget, that's what it said to me, in that sense. Finally, I'm sorry I spent too much time, but we need to take actions. Having an action is a Korean traditional wisdom. Conscience in action is what Kim Dae-jung's motto, life motto, and he is the embodiment of this. He said, if you have a conscience that do not act, if you do not, even though you have a conscience, you are practically on the side of evil. And faith in action, you remember, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, German pastor, anti-Nazi, the famous German pastor. He said, faith, he emphasized the importance of faith in action. If you have faith that do not act, and then you are practically on the side of evil, the same thing. Compassion in action. This expression and this concept is used by Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Indian reformer who fought against child labor and advocated the universal right to education. And Kailash Satyarthi, he emphasized compassion in action. And peace in action, finally. I've asked many professors who studies peace and also peace activists. Yes, this concept was there, but I asked them, are there any such expression like this, peace in action? No, I could not find them. That's the answer. So I humbly claim the copyright ownership of this expression, peace in action. Thank you so much.